The Stage Door Show, celebrating the independent artist. With your host, Dave Hondel.
Hey everybody, welcome to The Stage Door Show. Tonight, this is Dave Hondel, and with me, we have frequent guest and good friend of mine for many years, the inspirational author, Ken Gandy. Hey, Kenny, how you doing, man?
Hey, Dave, how are you tonight?
I am doing great. I almost feel guilty saying that with so much pain and suffering going on in the world, but, we do need to have some good news, in our lives, and it is we're on the doorstep of a new year, 2021, and I want you to announce to our listeners out there some exciting news as we bring in the new year. So why don't you go ahead and tell us what the exciting news is in your life?
Well, Dave, the exciting news going into 2021 is I finally released my first book for publication on Amazon. It's been a tremendous year, a couple of years. I know I've been writing this book since 2006 and trying to structure it the way that I have into a 7-book series now. And looking back from when we first started in the journey, it was, hey, I just saw something that you wrote, and where do we go from here? And here we are today with a published book, and we're on our way going to do movies and other events and things like that. So it's been a tremendous year for me. True enough, my heart goes out to all those that are affected by COVID-19. Those that have lost people just to regular sickness and illnesses, my heart goes out to you, and my prayers and love go to you too. And hopefully this book series that I'm writing will help you bring comfort and some reality back to the world for what we have known now to not really be what we thought it would be this year.
And speaking of reality, tell us what the book series name is and the new publication that we can look forward to on Amazon. So
the name of the book is basically, if you was to type it in, the way that people can find me is you could actually just type in my name. My name is Kenneth Gandy. It's Gandy, a G, not a C, like candy that you eat, but just as sweet. But it's knowledge for you in your heart. And if you would look me up, you'll find me, and the title says, I'm not here for how you feel. I'm here for what's right. Discover reality. Discover life through my eyes, but live your reality. Dave, I find that, even myself sometimes in this new world, every day we're going through things that are a lot of people's realities are distorted. I worked in so many industries, from food retail to sales to as of today, I do maintenance work. I help people with their homes, but now I decided I wanted to help them with their hearts. My book series is a 7-book series. This is the first book that we have actually going to release to the public, just to set everything up, But it comes with rules and laws like any other book, like any other story. But these rules and laws are ones that people can actually look back in their life and say, hey, don't touch the hot stove. And now you're finding out why as you get older. So this is just a reminder of what we do, what we don't do, and why we don't, to help our lives and to help the lives of others. So that's why I wrote this book.
I know we talked a little bit about your new book last week when we were off the air, but there was one thing that kind of hit me, and I know you've do this kind of writing, and obviously every book writer and author has an editor that goes through and kind of pages through everything, and maybe changes some grammatical inconsistencies or whatever. Sometimes the book comes out completely different than the way the author wrote it, and the way you wanted this book done is really the editor that you have. You made sure that they kept the way you wanted to write it, true to the nature of how you wrote it. So talk about that a little bit.
So, Dave, I think that when we first started, that was one of my main concerns. Like you said, the reason why you started this podcast in the beginning was to help people, and I wanted to go on that journey with you. And writing the book is like, for me, it wasn't one of the hardest things, because as an artist, you know your craft, you know what you want to say, you know how you want to say it, and finding someone who believes in you and your work, and they're able to take your work and put it out there and say, guess what, this is you, I accept you, and accept your work. So let's put it out there. I think that for me, the most scariest part in my history of writing was to come to the realization that whatever I wrote, I was accountable for. So finding someone to edit it to give life and truth to what I was writing was very crucial. It was a crucial moment for me. And I went through a lot of editors. I won't ever say that they were bad editors. I would just say that those editors didn't edit the way that I felt that I needed to go, that the story that needed to be told the way I wanted it to. It wasn't until I found one of the most tremendous editors. Her name is Tracy Andrews, and she worked with me. You know, she didn't start out editing books. This was just something that she knew how to do and something that she really wanted to do. And I just happened to stumble across her when I really needed someone to help me. Like, I was lost. Like, I didn't know what to do next. And so she came to me with it. She believed in me, and we spent plenty of days and hours and long days, long nights, just trying to put everything together. And when I presented her with the story, she looked at me and she was like, what? And I said to her, I don't want you to read it for punctuation, because I have someone do that. I don't want you to read it for grammatization, because I have someone do that. I said, but we sit and we talk and we have conversations, so you know how I am or what I am. That is what I want to portray in my books. So if you can give me that, then you can edit everything that I have. And Dave, looking at the book now, she gave me exactly what I asked for, and she wasn't afraid to tell me no. She wasn't afraid to say this won't work. She wasn't afraid to say that this, I think you may have gone too far left or too far right, but to pull me back from just saying, oh, I got everything, here I am, and I was so excited, just to finally be able to get it out. True enough, I have sad stories where I've been taken for hundreds and thousands of dollars and, just trying to publish your book. But no one can take away from you what your heart's dream and desire is. And sometimes we have to wait for God to do it. And when he brought her to me, it was like magic. Everything fell, the creativity sparked, and I've been able to write more and continue not only these 7 series for this book, but already started 3 other books. So I'm already ready there. Like, I think 2 days ago, I went to her house and I dropped off 20 new books and said, here, edit these. So, I want to only give courage and excitement to those out here who are writing. I don't care if it's a play, a movie, a book, a diary. Take what's in your heart and write it down, and don't be afraid to share it, because the life that you share with someone today could save a life tomorrow. And that's why I write from. I only want to inspire people to continue to do what they do and continue to bless people throughout their journey.
Talk about the series, the book series, and, kind of where that whole thing was born and the reason why you started writing the kind of books that you did. Personal experiences. I know from knowing you for so many years, I know some of them definitely had come from personal experiences. But other than that, what is the baseline for your stories, and where was that, kind of born out of?
For me, my story started basically, as you know, and I'll share with the listeners. I actually had a situation wherein I had children, and they weren't living with me. But as a father, I still wanted to participate and be part of their lives. So I was reduced to, here's a weekend, there's a weekend, here's a time when I'm available, things like that. And it seemed that by the time I got them on Friday, Sunday was here, and I wasn't able to do much but throw rules at them and not be a dad. So I wanted an outlet that I could be dad and be a dad when I'm supposed to, but still give them the opportunity to know who I am, where they come from, the family that they have, what they can do in life. Like I wrote this book to show them that here I am today at 48 years old, and I haven't given up on a dream of doing anything. This book is strictly for encouragement. So for my children, not to be able to see me every day, this is a way for them to hear me. So I wrote the book based off of something I always wanted, which was to find where I come from, who my family is. As you know, my father, his parents died at a young age, and I wasn't able to really trace my roots but to a certain side or certain things. But my whole life I've always wondered, where'd I come from? I mean, my last name is Gandy, Gandy. Like, you don't really hear that name anywhere. So for me to, thanks Facebook, making me a liar, now I have found close to, I'd say maybe 1,000 to 1,500 people with my last name since we wrote the first series back in 2006. So, I wanted to always connect people and allow people to share their lives with others throughout this whole series. And I hope that throughout this book, what I've given is hope for people who don't have a father, people who don't have family, people who they feel they can't run to and come to. Like growing up, I always heard people say, if only I had listened. Well, there was no one to tell me. Well, I want to be someone who could tell you that this is the way life is, and these are some things that happen and can happen in life. May not happen like this, but here's something that may help you maneuver yourself through life and help you out. So that's how I wrote this book. And I wrote it in 7 series. And I wrote it to take you on a journey and on a story because every 7 years I plan to write a new book and put it out. This will be the first book that I'm actually going to release, the first book, the spin-off series about my last name and the Gandy family. And then I'm going to also release the next book before the summer of next year. Those who subscribe to the book will be able to not only get the book, but when we do the movie and get that out, they'll also have exclusive access to that as well.
Oh, that's great. And just being an independent artist, we've known each other well before I even started, this podcast. In fact, I knew you when I was still doing music videos for, Ann Nesby and James Greer and BET and all that. So, you've been through my journey as well. And it's nice to see the work that you put into this, I just to see that grow to the point where it is right now. Just very proud of you and just very excited to see where this is going. And it's nice to see, for all of our indie artists that listen, this is a perfect example of why not to quit, why not to give up, why not to, never give up on your dreams. And it doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter your situation, it doesn't matter what job you're working, your day job. It's if you have a passion for creating art of any kind, you should never give that up. And we have, there's some theater folks that I know, some community theater folks that are well in their 60s and 70s that are still going strong acting. And, there's no age limit on anything. And as long as it makes you happy and, eventually, it's going to become a career. Eventually it's going to become, your passion is going to become more of a monetary, way to sustain, yourself. And, if you do something you love, eventually you're going to, you make it a career, right?
Yeah. Hey, Dave, I'll say this to you. Just off of what you just said, me, myself, like when I first started this book, and I'll share this, I was working a job. I was doing apartment maintenance, and there was a situation that happened where I got hurt on my job. And I couldn't really walk. I couldn't really talk. I really couldn't do anything. I would crawl on my hands and my knees and to get from my bed to the bathroom, which is right next door. And it took me maybe 20, 30 minutes. Sometimes I made it, sometimes I didn't. But every day I would get up and I would go to that computer and I would write how I felt. I would write for those who couldn't walk because I understood, this is hard. I wrote for those who couldn't breathe because there were times where I was like, it was too stuffy, I just couldn't breathe. Like my conscience was just that full, or my spirit was just that full that it felt so overwhelmed, and so anxiety took over. Despite the depression that was also relevant, because I'm not used to being someone who isn't getting up and doing things, like I'm that person that I'm going to go and I'm going to do any and everything that comes my way. I'm going to try to tackle that, if not for the experience, but just for the knowledge and know-how. So to be incapacitated, to be shut down in a small little room that felt like a prison cell, and all you had was your voice and a computer and an internet, I began to write. And I think that from that writing, it was not just a writing, but it was a release. It allowed me to release. And I always say to you, sometimes you have to release in order to release. And for me, writing the book when I first started, that was my release for me. So mentally, I was able to free myself, but also physically, the struggle of I won't give up, I'm not going to stop, I can't die. That don't just mean physically that you have to be stuck there. I mean, sometimes as artists and writers and producers and things like that, we get to that point where we're like, I'm stuck. And it may take years before you to get unstuck, and you never know why you're unstuck. And a lot of times I found that for me, my stuckness was I'm responsible for what I'm about to say next. And can I give it to them the way that I need to, or can I wither the backlash that may come from it? I think that we're careful to offend but not offend if we don't have to when it comes to the works of art that we represent and give to the people. I mean, we're here for hope. We're in control of people's wonders and people's dreams and people's thoughts. I wrote in this new book that's coming, there's a quote, and you can look for it. It says, if you can control their minds, then you can control the body. And I thought to myself, how many people today do that for us? Every day. And I can't always say it's for good. I can't always say it's for bad either. But as artists, when people come to see our works of art, that's where we are at that moment. We're giving them something to do something with, whether it's good or bad or whatever, because each person's interpretation of our art will be different. It will be, and I accept that. So if you take your acceptance on things, if you can take that once you release it, that you did it for the release, just understand that whatever baby you get back, you're going to have to love it. You're going to have to nourish it. Sometimes you're going to have to be upset with it. Sometimes you're going to have to cry. But this is your baby, and this is what gives you life. So take care of it and promote it and advertise it and show everybody this great, wonderful creation that you have done. And it doesn't matter about anything else, because at the end of the day, our names will always be in lights. It will always be on the shelf. It will always be somewhere for someone who needs us to be there for them. And that's why I write, Dave. I write just for that reason, or nothing else. So I'm not here for the money and the fame and things like that. I mean, stuff comes, it comes. People come, people go. I'm here because, as the book title says, I'm not here for how you feel. I'm here for what's right. I want you to treat me like I treat you. So I wrote about it. I want to love you like you love your mother, like you love your daughter, like you love your son, like you love your sister, your brother. I'm here for you. So I wanted an editor. I wanted cast members. I wanted musicians. I wanted everybody around me of any artistical type to be able to do that. So I started my company called Artistically Healing. And everything falls underneath that. No matter what we do, we're using our art to heal people.
Yeah, and that's great. And awesome work throughout the years. And and you brought up something with what you just said also. And I just noticed today I was watching a program and they were talking about all the people that have committed suicide, young people that have committed suicide during the COVID months, which is, going on greater than 10 months already. And, the fact that, young people who need the socialization to be out of the house and be with their friends and, they're kind of stuck in the house right now. And they did a survey, and one out of four people, young people that were surveyed, said that they had thought about suicide during the last 10 months during COVID and, being at home and not being able to see friends. And it just got me to thinking that, what we do as artists, regardless of what we do, whether it's, my podcast, whether it's your writing, whether it's one of the many great singers that we interview, or one of the great, actors that we interview, whatever art you create, you could be really affecting somebody that like one of those young, school age kids that is contemplating suicide might think again or might think twice because of something that you say or something that you're putting out, or with the words that you're writing, or the songs that you're singing, or what you're putting out on TV or film. And so it does really make a difference what we do as independent artists, and that's why I celebrate indie art so much, and that's why I do this podcast, like why you write. We do it. We don't do it to get rich, because none of us are getting rich doing this. So we're getting rich in other ways, though. I mean, we're getting rich mentally, and we're getting rich from helping others. And I think that's the name of the game these days, is really being out there to help others and not yourself.
Dave, I spoke about that personally in the new book that's going to come out. I'm human like everyone else, so of course the name of the book is called Human Like, and it goes through stories. And as you can see, some of the stories, like in the first chapter, in the first story, the chapters are like If Only Had Listened. There's stories that are titled Abandoned. There's dealing with issues that I myself had to deal with, like Abandoned says, sometimes we feel abandoned, but sometimes we abandon ourselves, we lose ourselves into other things. And I think that for me in my life, taking on so much of everyone else is what got me depressed, because I couldn't do anything about it. And a lot of times that is what it was, to lose control of like, we're control people. We're human beings. We like to control our lives. So the first time we feel that we're out of control, we don't know where we lost it. We don't know when we lost it, and we don't know how to get it back. That causes us to feel inadequate, like there's something wrong. Like, why didn't I know? Why didn't I? Well, how come I couldn't detect that? That story that I wrote, Abandoned, it went through that. And it goes through that in the story that's out right now, the one that's on Amazon. And I think, like, there comes a time wherein we have to own up for our own mistakes and our own issues, our own things, and give everyone else back their responsibilities. I'm not responsible as a young kid to feed myself when I have a mother and a father who's supposed to, even though I can. So some people can feel depressed saying, well, I had to do this when I was young, and where were you, and I didn't, blah, 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 and this is the reason why I am who I am today. I feel for those people, because I was one of those. But the only thing that helped me, and it may not help anybody else, but the one thing that helped me was I had to stop taking blame for everybody's faults and taking it into my life, because I'm the type of person that if you bleed, I'm bleeding with you, whether I'm physically scarred or cut or not. So if you don't have a place to stay, in my mind, I have a place. So I would take food out of my refrigerator and give it to other people. I would, if you needed a hand, I was there when my household would go without. But that's just the person that I am. So a lot of times that calls me to say, well, look at everything I did for you, and now I need help, and you can't help me. You know, I used to beat myself up about that, but then I have to remember my grandfather, a wise man, his name was Calvin Jackson. He said to me, he said, you never give away anything that you can't do without, because people aren't obligated to give you back anything until they feel that they can or should or will. So anything other than that, if you can't depart with it, don't give it. But that included everything from money to knowledge. So as a necessity for me and my family and the situation I'm going through now, you know, I have my son back in my life, you know, now it's a great thing. I have my daughter with me now. I'm going to be a pop-up coming February. You know, I want to only take what I'm doing and give this to them and say, here you go. I'm creating my own wealth for my children to have their residual wealth, you know, because all you have to do is sell a book and you can make some money, period. You know, and as an author, I think that a lot of us, we do that, not really going there with it, but we do that knowing that that is behind the scenes what we're trying to do and provide for our family. So for me and you, taking it from here's the book, we're going to lift it off these pages, and now we're going to go to video with it. We're going to not just enter your hearts and minds through our writings, but now visually you'll be able to see it. And so physically we'll be able to give you a hug once COVID is gone. But, you know, the only thing I ever want to do with anything that I ever write is I want to be able to bring realism back to the human and back to the hearts and back to the people that say, hey, I have a problem and I need help with it. And if only I had someone to talk to, then maybe I could just figure some things out. So I wrote this book
right now,
to help people do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things, Ken. You know, I'm seeing commercials a lot, you know, with Michael Phelps and Demi Lovato and others, you know, out there, which I think is great that celebrities are getting involved with this. But, you know, because suicide has really touched, you know, my family as well. You know, me as a young kid, my father committed suicide. And so, you know, I'm glad that the stigma behind self-help and you know, behind, you know, books like this and behind, you know, just, I think people are more willing at this point because I think everybody feels it. And that's one of the things that I think came out of the pandemic. One of the positive things is the fact that everybody is in the same boat and they say we're all in this together. Well, it's a little bit, you know, I guess skewed a little bit because some people are a little better off than others. But the bottom line is we're all dealing with a pandemic and everybody's got some kind of depression in whatever form that they're feeling it. But I'm just glad to see that, you know, self-help, you know, is more mainstream now than it used to be, and there's really not as much of a stigma behind it, and you know, especially for men, which I think more men now are admitting that they're depressed or that they need help. So I think books like this really do help that. And speaking of books, movies, and everything else that you're working on, which is a big slate of things, you have coming up in the coming year the G-Spot podcast show, and talk about that because I think in June you have another podcast coming. So talk about that podcast and what we can expect.
Oh my God, I am so happy to be able to finally be able to do this. This is the next phase. I call it phase 3, which, as you know, we have 7 books, 7 phases. Thank you, Marvel. Shout outs to Stan Lee. He's my mentor. You know, I've looked at his works and I wanted to follow suit, not him, not his legacy, but the business aspect of it. And one of those that he did, and I remember growing up, we only had a 1-dial radio in the middle of the room, and you would turn the dial to a certain station just to pick it up. And I remember I used to sit down in front of the radio, and I would listen to Roy Rogers on the radio. And I could hear the announcer talking, I could hear the story, and I would close my eyes with my back up against the speaker, and I would feel the vibration like going through me, and I was almost transported there. I was on the back riding the horse. You know, I was doing it, And I understood the power of TV, television, radio, and now growing up, in the internet. So now you're able to touch and reach millions and millions of people. I tell you what, the podcast, I wanted to be able to bring all of that feelings and emotion back to radio. Wherein kids couldn't wait to get home to sit in front of the radio and just listen to a story, especially if you have the book and you could put it online, or for those who are at work all day long and they could just tune in the dial and just listen. Audio has come a long way for books. My favorite author is Jordan LaForge. I love the way that he reads and narrates stories. I mean, I hope that one day I can have him narrate one of mine. It's like awesome. It's tremendous. But I wanted to come off the page because it's different when you get a chance to talk to somebody. It's a difference when you get the chance to hear them laugh and hear them smile versus you're trying to imagine, if I was the person, what would I sound like? It's like rediscovering your family all over again. If this was my mom, what would she sound like for the first time? My brother, the first time he called my name, what would it sound like? The family dog when he barked, as you heard mine a couple of minutes ago. What would it sound like to be in that room? It's a blessing to be able to do this. So with the new podcast, I want to be able to, one, do live story readings, where people could tune in at certain times throughout the day, and they could catch the next story or the in-betweens between those books. Because a lot of things are happening. I'm building a whole universe, a whole world, a whole creation. I'm rebuilding it from scratch. So you'll be able to tune in to the podcast and hear the stories. You'll be able to also purchase the audio tapes digitally through Amazon, which they'll be there. Also, we're going to put out a magazine about the podcast, so you'll be able to read and subscribe to the magazine off of the website. But we'll be able to also offer a place where other artists can come, and we can do exactly what we're doing tonight. We can interview other artists. We can talk about their lives, their works, things that they're working on. But we can also offer a place wherein people can get in contact with them, and they can say, hey, I heard you on this show the other night, and I was so inspired by what you said. I always wanted to write. I always wanted to do a movie. I always wanted to sing a song. What's my first step? And we're able to take them from that point and help them go to wherever it is that their creation takes them. So this podcast is strictly for that. We have comedians, authors, playwrights, musicians. We have compositions. We have people who are just in the industry. But we also have just regular people who are the people who read and consume our art. We have people who can actually come out and say, yeah, I like this story, but I didn't like this story, and this is why. And it's not a critique where we have to go, oh, it's my art, it's my work of art, and this is who I am. No, it's a place where, because we as consumers consume the product. And if there is not a product for us to put out there, then what else are they going to consume? So in order for them to always have hope in life, we put out these products. So why not talk about it? So the G-Spot is strictly that. It's a place where we go and we stimulate our hopes, our hearts, our minds, and we help those who are coming behind us, and we gather knowledge from those that are going in front of us so we can keep this art alive. And I'm so excited. It'll be out June 1st of 2021. We'll be ready.
Well, make sure, everybody, that you listen. We're going to obviously put that out on the Stage Door Show as well. We'll put, when it comes closer with we'll promote that podcast as well, and in the book, so I just want to make sure that let's tell everybody where they can, again, on Amazon, but let's talk about the book one more time, where they can get it and how to reach out to you if they want to contact you.
And also, just for the listeners, it is capital G-E-E. G Gandy for the podcast. But on Amazon, you can find my new book. You can either type in my name, which is actually the most quickest way because the title is like real far. But if you type in my name, the name is Kenneth. The last name is G-A-N-D-Y, Gandy. Like candy that you eat, just as sweet. A G instead of a C. And if you type that into Amazon and click, you'll be able to purchase the paperback as well as the Kindle version of it. And I know a lot of people don't have Kindle, but Amazon does offer a version on the app where you can actually go in and download and read some of the stories.
Well, Kenny, I mean, again, I know we've had you on the show plenty of times, and I know you were one of the first guests I've ever had on my podcast about 3 years ago. So again, you were there when this all started. So hopefully I can be there when you first start too at some point on your podcast, because I would love to push your show for sure. Because I can't wait for that to come out. And the book, you guys, you gotta check this out, because Kenny, he's called the inspirational author for a reason. He's inspirational. He speaks from the heart, and I know that every one of your words is moving. Again, just make sure everybody goes out and gets that book on Amazon, and just great to have you on again, Kenny, and can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, and listen, Dave, also, I'm doing all the graphic artwork now, and I'm working with a production company now, so we can print them in several different sizes for people to purchase as well. We don't just write books, but we like to visually send you on that journey of discovering reality. Our works, they go from, it's kind of crazy because this book, someone asked me to describe what genre it would be, and I couldn't. And they asked me why not, and I said, well, I wrote this book as tributes to a lot of the greats that are already out there, at least people that I consider great. So you have sci-fi, you have horror, you have drama, you have romance, you have all these different genres in one book. And I've never seen it written like that in any book since I've been reading, and I'm 48. So, I mean, my father, he worked in television. He was a television producer, director for the Educational Television Network, ETV, in South Carolina. And I remember the first time I actually picked up a book, he had an old illustration book of Spider-Man, Daredevil. They used to come in little red books, and all they had was drawings inside of it. And I remember I used to lock myself in a closet and read these books. It was the only time I could get away from everything and everybody else, but that was my secret little stash spot to go and just read that. Conan the Barbarian and Red Sonja. And I tell you, like, those days lead me up to where I am now. And so with the visual portions of seeing them, I think that sort of stuck with me. So throughout the years, as an artist myself, not just a writer, but as an artist, I put out, I think, 2,365 works of art since 2006. So I finally decided to take these works of art and include them into the stories themselves. So each work of art is for sale, and they're all one of a kind. And each one dictates on the back. So if you turn, let's just say you had a story, you had a picture, and each picture was cut into millions of pictures. Now, on the back of each picture, there's a story or a poem or a signature or something that's there, and on the bottom, it has a number on it. Like, remember back in the day, they would say, if you don't like the story, turn to page 23. If you don't like this, turn to page 48. Well, I took that same type of thing and I put it on the back of each picture, and each picture represents a portion of the story. So when you look at the picture and you look at the story in the book, it gives you an in-depth of what was going on in my life or in that story that no one else in the world will have, because you're the only one with that picture. I decided to do that, Dave. And so each picture that I releases a new story, a new in-depth, a new insight into each story that I write to keep the author not only engaged, but it's like Pokemon. You got to catch them all. You know, you got to get every picture in order to see them. But all together, they form one. So let's say, Dave, you got picture 24 and 28, but I have 14 and 7. Well, 14 and 7 may somehow fit in between the bigger picture. So we would have to find those with the other pictures, which takes you and me to be able to go out and look for these people with these other pictures and find out who they are and why they have these pictures and how they touch their lives. This whole book is to bring unity to everyone. That's why I wrote the book. That's why I wrote the pictures, drew the pictures. That's why we have someone actually right now taking the illustrations and turning into real artworks, for sale. So we're not just writing a book, Dave. We're building a company from the ground up where we own everything. We own our artwork. We own our company name. We own our brand. Doing this book, as I said earlier, I lost hundreds and thousands of dollars, and I don't have it to do that. I work a regular 8 to 4:30, 5 o'clock job. I don't make a lot of money. I'm pitching pennies every day, but I have my integrity, and I have my love and my life for my family behind me. So that is what I use to push, to keep forward to finally, I lost my aunt in one day, and then 2 days later I lost my uncle. And then 2 days after that, I released the book. I felt that it was time. I woke up and was like, now the people need to hear this. And so I released the book, and so far I've gotten such a tremendous feedback on it, and people are loving it. So to all the artists out there, don't ever give up on any of your dreams. Strive even when no one else can. Be your own brand if you have to. Market yourself. Advertise yourself. Put yourself out there if that's what it's going to take. Someone has to hear you and someone has to listen to you because a closed mouth never gets fed. So take every day, the ups, the downs, the battles, everything you go through, but you take that and you take it and you use it to fuel your future. I didn't never want my kids to never know who I was, but not give them something to help them out. So I wrote one book. Then I wrote two. Before I know it, I wrote 23. 23 stories simultaneously at the exact same time I wrote each story. And now I'm going to present them all to everyone. So this is the first book that's coming out. We got 7 more. And then we're going to keep going. And after this series ends, the podcast will begin. After the podcast, we're going to start doing the stage plays. And after the stage plays, we'll work our way up to the movies.
I really love that idea about selling pictures, and you gotta find each other in order to find the rest of the story. I think that's actually brilliant. So, yeah, I can't wait to see how that turns out because that's awesome. I think that's great, and it gets you to. I think everybody's into genealogy right now, but I think that to find that other person and just the investigation that goes along with it. It could take years to find that other, but I think that's the journey that a lot of people would be more than happy to take on. So I think it's awesome.
Well, sometimes it can take years, but Dave, remember, I found you in less than 6 months. And in less than 6 months, from the original story that I wrote, I'd already found at least 50 people. In another 8 months, we found 200. In another a year, we found over 1,000. Within 2 years, from 2006 to 2009, we found, I think, 5,000 people. And from 5,000 people to now, the numbers have just grown. And those who are born, those who are dead, those seeking families, those seeking help, those learning new friends. We have a saying, whether by blood or name, you are family, and we love you. And if you need us, we're here for you. So it doesn't matter to us. You don't have to look like me. You don't have to be like me. You don't have to like what I like. Who cares? The only thing I look at is maybe you have something to show me, something that I can learn to love and embrace. And I think that for me and you, from the first day that me and you ever talked years ago, before we even got to this point now, that was one of the things that we kept present in our life. You know, it didn't matter. Like, any new event happened in my life, I was like, hey, Dave, how you doing? Listen, guess what I got going on?
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
You know, when, like your daughter Jessica, all of this stuff that she's going through, you know, it's like, oh my God, like I'm seeing my life grow. I couldn't ask for another brother better than you, you know, and I consider you my brother. You know, you're my brother in the arts. So for me, I want to always portray, not just portray, but live this life, no matter what we go through. And because we've done that, this is the rewards that we're receiving. You know, I love it. It's great.
Yeah, it's about time, man. It's about time. You know, and I, like I said, you know, I've talked to a lot of artists on this show, celebrities that have, you know, at one point in their life had been, you know, like super famous and still are, a lot of them, and you know, that's the one thing that they all say is that it wasn't for the money that they signed this contract or whatever. It was, you know, it was out of the passion for what they did that got them noticed and got them, you know, got them to where they were. And, you know, and it's funny because even some of them that aren't as famous anymore, but they're completely fine with that. They're fine with just continuing to do their passion, because it's all about the passion of the art. It's not about the dollar signs. It's not about the fame and the celebrity. It's about, you know, creating something that's going to affect other people in a positive way. And I think that's why artists do what they do, to affect, you know, people in a positive way. And I think, you know, if you ask any artist, they're going to tell you the same thing.
I would say that the first time that you called me, and I'm sorry, you called me, I'll call you, but you said to me, hey, Kenny, I'm thinking of doing a podcast. And I was like, a podcast? I was like, Dave, what will you talk about? What are you going to talk about? I don't know. I mean, what are you going to do with a podcast? Like, you know, I mean, we had gotten that close to, we had those conversations. And I said to you then, Dave, I think that the way that you're going to do your podcast, I think that you will help heal people. You will give them a voice and a vision that they can look forward to, and that they can live their life and be able to express themselves without fear. I think that fear is just something that holds us back. What if I'm not good enough? What if people don't like me? You know, what if I fail? And I think now, like, so what? You know, it's not the first time I heard the word no before. Like, I've been fired from jobs. I've been fired from relationships. I've been fired from life as well. It didn't kill me. If anything, I said, well, it's a no today, but it just take one yes. So I will go until I hear that yes. And when I hear that yes, I'll go until I hear another one. You know, it's hard to tell somebody that when you ain't got no nickels in your pocket to ching with. You know, tomorrow, I can't tell you how many times, like yesterday, I put together a couple of pennies or nickels and dimes to get a loaf of bread and some tuna fish. And here I am, a book author, you know, I'm published. And here I am looking for change to get a can of tuna and some bread so I can eat another day. So, you know, I'm not embarrassed to say that I'm not rich, I'm not wealthy. As you said, I didn't do this for that. I did this so my children can have a way to hear my voice. And if their friends needed a dad, you know, if there's someone out there who needed a friend, a father, just somebody there who would listen and would be straight up with him, be like, look, that you fucking up. I'm sorry, you messing up. But that's just what it is. I wanted to, like, really give people a chance to live again and express themselves, you know, in this art. So I hope that throughout this book and the production company that we're trying to create, that the motto stands and will forever stand. DMG Entertainment Studios. It's called DNG Imagination Studios. It's imagination. DNG stands for my daughter's name, Dijaya Manye Gandy. And I was talking to her. I said, imagine a nation and all the studios that could allow the artists to be free to do what they want to do. You could do that. Here's some hope. Here's some dreams. You need a starting point. Here's a book. Take that. Do that and live. And now she wants to write. She wants to write her own series for young teenagers herself. So I'm behind her 100%, and I'm supportive.
Yeah, tremendous, man. That's awesome. Well, we're running out of time, but I wanted to say thank you, Kenny, for another great episode, and best of luck to you on your book. And obviously, we're going to be, talking, prior to your podcast. I can't wait till that comes out as well. But again, keep checking, listeners, keep checking back with us on the Stage Door Show. We'll make sure that we put everything out that Kenny has coming out, and linking to everything. So again, Kenny, thank you so much for joining me again tonight, and best to you in the new year, you and your family, and stay safe, and can't wait to chat with you again.
Yes, anytime, Dave. And once again, for the listeners, if you're going to Amazon.com, just type in my name, Kenneth Gandy, Kenneth. Last name is Gandy. And the book is called Discover Reality. Discover life through my eyes, but live your reality. Remember, I'm not here for how you feel. I'm here for what's right. So just go and find me out and read the book, and I hope you guys enjoy. And don't forget to leave a comment on the site for Amazon.
Thank you so much, Kenny. Good night.
Good night, Dave.